We are now live. Good morning. I'm the Executive Director of the Public Design Commission, and welcome to the PDC Public Meeting. If you are joining us via Zoom and would like to testify, please sign up through the Google form. And commissioners, a reminder to please bring the microphone close to you and turn them on when speaking so everybody online can hear. I will now turn it over to our Vice President, Jimmy Van Bramer.
Good morning. My name is Jimmy Van Bramer, and I'm the Vice President of the Public Design Commission, and I'll be running the meeting today given that our President, Deborah Martin, is unable to attend. Welcome to the Public Design Commission meeting. As New York City's design review agency, the Public Design Commission has jurisdiction over the design of permanent structures, landscape architecture, and art proposed on or over city-owned property. Today's meeting is being held in person at City Hall. Members of the public can attend and give testimony either in person or remotely. The public meeting is now commencing with the consent agenda and items number 3004 to 30031. Please note, I am recused from item 30004. Are there any additional recusals to note? No. Let the record show there are no additional recusals. I'll now call for the vote. Commissioners, when I call your name, please state your vote for the consent agenda. Please note, as per the resolution of the Public Design Commission adopted on October 11th, 2022, to allow remote participation by commissioners with an extraordinary circumstance. Kenseth Armstead is able to participate remotely due to caregiving responsibilities. I'll start with calling the roll. Kenseth Armstead.
Approve all.
Lori Hawkinson.
Approve all.
Bill Heinzen.
Approve all.
Karen Keel.
Approve all.
Manuel Miranda.
Approve all.
Meryl Tisch.
Approve all.
And I'll call on myself, Jimmy Van Bramer. Approve all. We will now continue with the public hearing portion of the meeting. The only item for this public hearing is 30032, the preliminary review of the installation of Through Thick and Thin by Risa Puno at the Mary Colley Dalton Recreation Center at 6 Victory Boulevard, adjacent to the Lions Pool, Hannah Street, Murray Hulbert Avenue, and the Tompkinsville Esplanade in Staten Island. Per standard procedure, the applicants will give their presentation, then public testimony will be heard, and then the commission will ask questions, deliberate, and vote. We will hear in-person testimony first, followed by testimony from remote participants. We can now proceed with the presentation.
Hi, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to keep my mask on, but let me know if you can't hear me. My name is Risa Puno. I'm an interactive installation artist. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you so much to the team for helping me out with this presentation. So yes, the project is Through Thick and Thin, and it's for the Mary Colley Dalton Recreation Center in Staten Island, Tompkinsville specifically. There's a lot of slides here, so I'm going to roll right through this. It's right next to the Lions Pool complex, which is, people are much looking forward to this. The kids have been walking around like the mall, so here we are. It's right next to the Lions Pool Center. This is the building, and so that is the site for the artwork. It's in the lobby. So it's in the stairwell of the lobby, and this is the elevation. As some of you might remember, this is the conceptual design proposal that I presented. So it is largely inspired by the namesake of the recreation center, Mary Colley Dalton, who was the former chief of Recreation for Staten Island, AKA Chief of Magic. She's there in the blonde hair, purple collar, there behind the banner. It's also inspired by the Clove Lakes Colossus, which is that giant tulip tree there in Staten Island, one of the largest organisms in New York City, thought to be over 300 years old, super resilient, and also is an early successional species that shoots up and forms a protective canopy, so that slower growing species like oaks can have like a nurturing space to grow. And so that was kind of, from what I've heard from talking to Chief Kelly Dalton's friends and family, that was kind of her vibe, just getting in there and helping out people. And so that's why I wanted to really focus on the canopy of the tree. Also the showy blossoms, it's in the Magnolia family, and it has these really showy blossoms. And because she loved wearing these costumes, like she got her whole staff to wear them, that's also why I wanted to focus on those. And so during the conceptual design phase, I wasn't sure whether it would be 1 blossom or 3 blossoms, was wanting to work that out with fabricators. And so this is what I showed you all, and it was all pretty close to the ceiling at the time. And so your feedback was to continue to study the depth and verticality of the artwork, providing section drawings to clarify the connection to the skylight and the ceiling, and also to consider equity and diversity in the participatory artwork process. And so I dropped it down throughout the stairwell, and also the community outreach that I've been doing includes partnership with New York City Parks, the Staten Island team, as well as Staten Island-based artists of color. And also, I'm going to be reaching out to Kelly Villar from the Staten Island Urban Center as well. And so definitely took those notes and have been thinking about that. So here we are. So once again, inspired by Chief Kelly Dalton, the resilience of the Clove Lakes Colossus, that giant tulip poplar tree. And so these translucent panels are made to be reminiscent of the tulip tree leaves or petals. And each petal, as you can see here, it's like I'm asking people if I can trace the outline of their face and incorporating it into the design of like the petals and the leaves, and making this canopy from that. And so here is a rendering that shows the ground floor. And the thing is, the ground floor it's a flood zone, because the previous recreation center, the phrase that everybody keeps using is slid into the river, right? And so this is what this is what we're trying to serve a community who doesn't have a rec center anymore, right? And so this ground floor is a flood zone. We can't put anything in there on this ground floor. And so this is something that's been really important in thinking about, like, okay, well, since we can't put objects on this ground floor, I still wanted to give visual interest there. And so there's a skylight above this stairwell. And so I'm trying to catch the light from the skylight. I can't do this in SketchUp because it's SketchUp, but like I want to catch the light from the skylight and throw colorful light down onto that ground floor. And so that's why that's so important to me, that it's translucent acrylic. So that's what's supposed to happen here. And so in this, you can see here, there's the skylight. You can see that there, that we're trying to catch. And here is a view from, if you're standing on that next level, looking down through it to the thing, you're looking through it. So you're looking at it from many angles. You're like actually in the canopy. And this would be if you're looking from below, though this one was an earlier rendering where there's no walls in this one. But yeah, so this is, is the video not playing? Oh. Okay, well, this is the video that takes you through and you actually get to see it kind of going, oh, okay. Oh, good, I don't have to describe it. It's more fun to watch. There you go. So this is walking into the lobby, and you can, again, I'm limited by my SketchUp skills, but it's kind of the idea of what it would, like, I want people to sort of feel like they're, getting to sort of, walk up like pieces of this canopy, like as though there's like sort of invisible tree branches and you're getting to go through these hanging leaves, and then you get to see all these things and you're like, they're faces. So yeah.
You must not watch the news very much. You still enjoy it, of course.
It's despite the news. Yeah, so the installation is made up of 3 big tulip tree blossoms and 11 leaf clusters. And so each tulip tree blossom is made up of a large petal ring, a small petal ring, and a stamen ring. And so you can see there's like components within that. So each large petal ring, it's got these very large petals. And so those are, those have like each color, they like different colors. It says how many are in each thing. The leaf clusters have 3 different shades of green, which you can see. You can see here. Here's 2 of them, and these are full scale. There's actually 2 different sizes. These are actually the smaller ones. This is actually my vase. And I've actually been using these in community outreach to explain to people like this is what so these are kind of beat up because I've been like dragging these around to like Staten Island and stuff, just to explain to people this is what it's going to look like. So they know what to expect. They know what they're consenting to. But those are 2 out of the 3 shades of green. So yes, speaking of community engagement, there's me holding them up so people can see what it is. But yeah, so over 120 silhouettes have been collected in the first month, and it's primarily from New York City Parks employees, Staten Island residents, and Mary Callie Dalton's family members, many of whom work for the city. And so I'm going to continue community outreach through July 1st, because then after that, I need to make the files so the fabricator can cut them. But the artwork can accommodate up to 278 unique facial silhouettes. But if we don't hit that number, I can repeat some but the thing is, in my previous projects where I've used facial silhouettes, there's a certain amount where it's like you can't like it still looks very like a lot of variation, and I calculated based on that. Like I basically needed at least like 70 to make it look like a good variation. So I've already hit that. Now it's more just making it feel like when people walk into the artwork, I don't want people to be like, wait, what is this? I could have done this. I want people to feel like, oh yeah, I heard about this. Like this, I think that's mine, like that's what I would love for people to feel like that, and to feel like this is their community. And so that's really what I'm going for now. And aesthetically, this is just gravy, but it's more just people feeling a connection to the artwork. So that's, and feeling ownership over it. So that's where I'm going. So in terms of the detail drawing, this is plan view. So you can see the skylight cone there and how much of it is, sort of clustered near that and trying to catch that light. Here again, you can see elevation view. So again, how much of that is under the skylight. And here are the fabricator drawings. And again, so this is the tulip tree blossom, it's got the 3 parts, the large petal ring, small petal ring, stamen ring. And here, you can see how we put together a large petal ring. We're using these clear spacers because the point of this is, the point of this is to try to make as much translucent as possible, right? Because we don't want to block that light coming in. Because as much as we want to throw colorful light down, we still want people to benefit from the skylight, right? Like that is sunlight for the guests, right? This is color coded. This is actually orange. This whole thing's going to be orange, but the color coding is just to show you the dimensionality of this. Like the things shown in each color are things that are going to be mounted flush, and then between each color group is another clear spacer. But that whole thing will be orange. And then this is the stamen ring, but we put together with these cross lap joints. So all of these faces will be vertically mounted, and then underneath the big large petal ring. And then the leaf clusters will also be put together like that. Yeah, and so the number of like, oh, this is the fabricator like doing prototyping to just make sure this was actually just clear acrylic, but just to make sure that this method was good and would be steady, stable, and like could do the load bearing. And that's how like determining the number of cables per thing, because each whole like tulip tree blossom is like 300 pounds about, and each leaf cluster is like 40 to 50. No, well, I mean, they have double thick plywood behind the drywall. It's like 2 3/4, so it's 1.5 plywood behind the ceiling where it's going to be hung. But they did that specifically to allow us flexibility in choosing our anchor points. So yeah, they said we can hang a car from the ceiling, so we're good. But nothing more though, not more than a car. But yeah, and so but that's why we do need like that many cables per flower in order to do that, because like just to make sure it can hold the weight and also still be translucent and let that light through. Oh yes, there we go. There is the plywood to back on the ceiling. It's 2 layers of 3/4 plywood behind the drywall. I forgot I had that slide. And so yes, here is the attachment method, maintenance recommendations. One thing to note is that there is a lift in the building on site that will be there all the time that can reach even the highest panels. Otherwise, it is standard acrylic, like we're not putting any special coating on it. So it's all standard maintenance things for it. Yeah, and it just requires a little dusting. And so signage locations, I already talked to the entire core review group. Everybody likes the first choice signage location, but there is an alternative signage location if for some reason there's an issue. But we're all good with this, the one on the railing. And because this area currently 17% has Spanish as their primary language, I would love to translate this into Spanish. We're currently waiting on review, but that is so that is not the final text, but that is the layout for it. And materials, those are the pictures of the materials. These are the colors, which I have the samples there. These were chosen because they resemble the tulip tree blossoms and the leaves. And then also when they're layered together, I looked at how they layer together visually and also how they catch the sunlight and the colors they make when the sunlight passes through them. More materials. Oh, that's my face. Thank you. Oh, addendum regarding the thing. The first rendering that I showed you had black lines because I use SketchUp, and SketchUp only gives you whole number line widths, and default is black, and it looked very scary. And so I submitted another one that looked a little more like in real life, when you look far away, it will be less like aggressive. That will be hopefully more reflective of that in real life. But that is what the material is. There is a sample there. And yeah, this is the reflected ceiling plan. And basically the, you all had a question about like the sprinklers and the lighting. The lighting, we need the lights because it's a functional area, because it's a stairwell, the guests have to be able to see the stairs. So that was kind of a non-negotiable. The sprinklers actually, especially when we dropped it down into the stairwell, we ran into building code. There's like a sprinkler building code where like, it's something about like obstructions. I forget, something about like obstructions that are larger than 4 feet or something like that need a sprinkler below them. And my original thing when I dropped it was gonna add like over 10 sprinkler heads like descending into the stairwell on pipes. And I was like, oh my God. And so like working with like Icon 5 and Kukalakis, like talking to them, there's apparently another rule, whereas if you group vertical elements within 12 inches of each other, you can like count that as one obstruction. And so by grouping it with the architectural elements in the space, I was able to reduce it to 2 sprinklers in the space. And they're actually, the drop is actually very minimal. They're like not all the way down into the stairwell. So you can see them labeled there. There's only 2 and they're not dropped very low. So we went from over 10 to 2. So that is, I think, just about as good, because that's why one of the blossoms, for example, is close to like one of the landings or something like that. It's to try to group them where different architectural elements are. But like, you know, there's certain things where if you lower a flower, you're going to see more cables because that's, you know, like it's lower from the ceiling. And so there's more cable. Also, as you can see, it's like because the flowers are below a hole, I can't hang the cables straight, like because there's a hole above it, like it can't be plumb. So, you know, we're anchoring into the ceiling around the hole, so they're inevitably going to be angled. So like that is the nature of, you know, the geometry and the physics of it. But, you know, in order to keep it translucent, to keep the light going through and to make sure it's stable. But we're able to do it in a way where you're not going to have the cables in, you know, reach of people and things like that. But that, you know, there's only so much we can do. Also, only so much we can do with this budget. But like, luckily, you know, these are for context, these are materials on site. But luckily, like, so this is more context, the materials on site. And this is like my random photo collage, not to scale, but like, it's like, you can see the color of the materials and the color of the cable. Hard to see on this, but it's like, it's not like it stands out, you know, it's not like a high contrast, like it's not red and green, you know, like it's not a high contrast color on those materials. So like, it's hopefully will fade away as much as it can. Oh, and this is the fabricator. Versteeg got their name from Public Art for Public Schools. So they, you know, they've worked with the city. They know what they're doing. So, and these are case studies that the DDC helped me put together to show, like, these are people who use SketchUp with their big black lines as well, and how in real life, it doesn't look like that in real life. But like, you know, steel wire is a common way to hang acrylic sheet. Even if you have many steel wires going in many directions. Yeah, and it just, oh, and that's it. And so, yeah, happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. And let me just reiterate what Commissioner Tisch said. Your joy is really coming through when you talk about your art and this project. Before we go to public comments, I just want to say, let the record show that all commissioners voted in favor of today's consent agenda. And now I'll throw it to Serge.
Great. We'll just call for public testimony if we have anyone. Do we have anybody signed up online, Chelsea?
We do not have anyone signed up for remote testimony. Is anyone within the Zoom room here to testify? If so, please use the raise hand feature. I'm seeing no hands, so we're okay to proceed. Thank you.
I also do not see anybody in person, so we can now move to discussion.
Commissioners, are there any questions or comments? A reminder to please speak into the microphones when talking.
Okay, thank you. Excellent presentation. Very beautiful piece. I just had a question about two questions. One about the lighting, about how you're lighting it in the evening. And whether, because I couldn't tell if I mean, it is what it is, whether the colors are going to be projected on the floor when you have lighting. Do you, because I couldn't tell from those other ones. I mean, I don't know, it is what it is, but I just couldn't tell. One of them was just to look straight down. So we were actually looking at the piece, but we didn't see what happens on the floor. Not that I mean, I think it's very exciting, whatever happens, but I was curious about that. And then is that a beam, by the way, coming through there, that eye? What
I-
is that?
I believe so. I think, I mean, that's a question for the
It's not in
architects.
your renderings.
I think that's, yeah, that's inside the skylight. So in my renderings, none of my renderings actually show that high up.
God, they have a giant
I think
in your-
that is where
in
the,
your Oculus.
I think that's where the sprinkler attaches, but that's a question for the architects, maybe?
One moment, let me get. And then maybe in the section, you could tell us where the lighting is, that would be, yeah.
I'm not the architect.
Okay.
I'm a DDC project manager, and I do know the beam is there. You know, we tried to get pushed for them to get rid of that, but it was something they were unable to do.
Hmm.
And as far as the lighting, the skylight, you see the large angled piece at the top, you know, we're right there. The skylight is actually the smaller vertical piece, the round piece. So
Yeah.
it's not it's really an Oculus and as opposed to a big skylight. And the lighting of this is recessed. I think some of her renderings may have shown it around in the lower right there.
There.
And there as well as in the bottom surface of the horizontal there. You know, their downlights ringing the.
I mean, there is, not that you don't know this, there is software Enscape that you can emulate, you know, something quite easily now. For lighting, but whatever, for future reference, I'm sure people know, your architects know, they probably use it. So then you can have the lighting, you can have everything in there, and then you could see if their lighting is going to light your piece in the evening, if it's enough.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was probably out of my budget in terms of like hiring like people to do more intense renderings. I mean, this budget is.
No, I'm just saying, the architects do those kind of things, maybe they would just put it in there, but maybe it's too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's like, I was also told that like, it is not the artist's like,
Or just how is it gonna be lit? So like, how do you imagine it to be lit in the evening? Maybe let's make that.
oh, sure. I mean, the thing is, it's like, for me, it's like like the capturing of the sunlight, like, cause it's, I mean, like nature, right? It's like, cause the thing is, it's like the idea of cause the skylight throws light during the day, but the skylight doesn't at night, right? So it's like a daytime feature, but then after that, you still have the rec center even when it's not operating, like even when the skylight's not there. So it's like more like when that feature is there, I wanted to capitalize on it, but when it's not there, it's still a sculpture. Like, so I'm hoping it's still just, it just still is there. So it doesn't have to. And that's actually why I was excited to have that last blossom still as low as it was, and why I showed in that video that when you walk through the doors, you can see it, because it's like, even if it's not throwing light all the way down, when you walk in, you will still see something. So it's still giving people something to see, even if the lights are off. And so, I mean, there's lighting on the stairwell, so you will see it, like, but in terms of lights on it, there isn't like art lighting. But that's, I mean, that was what I was told, that wasn't something that the artists did.
I imagine it'll be quite ornate, the kind of lights that it shows on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll change during the day, depending on where the sun is or level of clarity. I think that's a nice effect.
Hello, Riza.
Oh, hi.
I'm calling from the Netherlands. But I'm here with you, and I just want to say how fantastic I think this project is. I think that you took the comments about creating more dimensionality and you ran with that. And I think you did as much as anyone humanly can to get as much dimensionality and joy and personality out of the community to put into this work. I know there were some people who had some minor concerns with the way that the works would be connected to the ceiling. I think that those things look much more, they seem much more minor to me now. I think that you made a really great work that will blend this community center with the users of the community center in a way that is elegant. And I think that, I don't think you're going to be able to control the light. I think you've made a work that is going to be enhanced by the fact that you don't control the light, and that it will just change in every season. And there'll be different ways to view it. And I think that that's a real benefit that the Oculus gives to this work. And I just want to congratulate you. I think this is a fantastic work for a fantastic community. And of course, I'm your fan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was trying to think of it, because it's an artwork, but it's also, I'm trying to think of it like a piece of architecture too, right? And so I wasn't, it's not like, even though you can't touch it, I don't want it to feel like a spotlight, like untouchable, It's like I want people to feel like it's like part of the space too,
It's living, it's not static.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real benefit to it.
Yeah. I'm hoping to talk to the parks team too about like maybe ways to incorporate like programming around it. Like, I don't know, maybe they do seasonal like facial silhouettes or something like that. I mean, wouldn't that be fun if then it extended on the walls,
It'd be great if they could do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten to meet the parks team, the Staten Island Parks team. Like Dana runs the camp. You talk to Deputy Chief Ritchie. Like, so it'd be fun.
Yeah. And also, I think you really made a space where, as the artwork evolves, people will have ownership of it. It will belong to them, and they'll constantly be looking to see themselves, and they see themselves reflected. And I think that's really a strong statement of what the best case scenario is of what an artist and the community can do together.
I hope so.
Thank you.
I had a
Any
comment
other-
about the sign. Could we look at the sign?
Oh, sure. Is it this way?
I think it looks good. My only comment would be, the Spanish translation. I don't think the title necessarily needs to be all in one line. And, I think it'd be great if, the titles just be all the same size. Like the sizing on the left should replicate on the right. Because it looks like it's just kind of squished in to make it fit. But yeah, Spanish is always longer. But I think you can either, make the sign taller or change the, text heights on the left, just to make it more uniform, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. Just a minor comment.
Sure.
And I don't know, this is not directional, this part, but like, it could be interesting to make it relate somehow materially to the sculpture, like, choose one of the colors or maybe even have it slightly transparent. I mean, there might be a kind of accessibility issue with that, but I think it could relate in some way too. But that's just a thought.
Cool.
Any other comments from commissioners? Well, I think when you're being congratulated in the comments portion, that's a very good sign. And I want to say that it appears to me that commissioners clearly commend this project. I too think it's beautiful and an incredible tribute to Mary Callie Dalton. Am I correct that some of her family members' images will also be at these facial panels, or?
Oh, yes, I have at least 20 of her, including her youngest grandchild, who is the baby.
That's a beautiful tribute that will last forever. So it's really, really beautiful. And I know Commissioner Hawkinson had some recommendations just to study some lighting options going forward. But
I didn't mean for it to be spotlit. I just was like, how are they handling the lighting relative to your piece? That's all. So I agree with you. The natural light is.
Thank you.
So congratulations. And with that, I will now call for a roll call vote on item 3. Is that? Oh, yes. And Commissioner Miranda had some recommendations on the signage and materials there for you to consider as well. And with that, I will now take a roll call vote on item 30032, the preliminary review of the installation of Through Thick and Thin by Risa Puno at the Mary Colley Dalton Recreation Center in Staten Island. Commissioners, when I call your name, please state your vote. Ken Seth Armstead.
Super approval.
Lori Hawkinson.
Approved.
Bill Heinzen.
Approve.
Karen Keel.
Approved.
Manuel Miranda.
Approve.
Merrill Tisch.
Approved.
And I, Jimmy Van Bramer, also approve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will now begin the committee meeting with the conceptual review of the reconstruction of a clubhouse at Ferry Point Park Golf Course, Bally's Golf Links, as part of a gaming facility and resort at 500 Hutchinson River Parkway in the Bronx. As a reminder, we will not hear public testimony on this project today. Please note, PDC's jurisdiction does not include the proposed Ferry Point gaming facility, resort, or parking structure, all of which will be located on privately acquired property. Within PDC's jurisdiction is the golf clubhouse and adjacent site work on New York City Parks property. Presenters, you may begin when ready.
Okay, good morning, PDC and commissioners. I am Joy Gutierrez, Deputy Director of Concession Architecture at Parks, and I am joined by Tony McCary, Director of Concession Architecture. We are here today to present a design for the Bally's Golf Links Clubhouse in Ferry Point Park. Bally's is the licensed concessionaire who has been successfully operating the golf course and clubhouse through a license agreement with the City of New York since 2023. As you may recall, the golf course at Ferry Point Park was developed and constructed by New York City Parks on what formerly was a municipal landfill and completed in 2015. We want to note that this new golf clubhouse design we are presenting today is contingent upon the awarding of a downstate casino license to Bally's. Our focus this morning is to show a greatly improved golf clubhouse that will remain open to the public and all visitors. As the licensed concessionaire, Bally's Golf Links at Ferry Point will fund these capital improvements. Parks is supportive of this design and believe it will greatly enhance the park and make this truly a year-round facility for enjoyment by all of the local community and not just golfers. The architectural firm working with Bally's Golf is HKS, and they are represented today by Jess Corrigan, Senior Vice President, whom I will turn this over to present this design. He is joined by Stanley Schlein and Christopher Jewett of Bally's. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. I'm assuming you can hear me. Good. Stanley's here in the room, and Chris Jewett had to join us by Zoom today. So he's somewhere else in the ether. Thanks for this opportunity to present this project. We started with an image of the golf course, not the building. And we did that for a reason. We think that this building should be about the land and the landscape. The other two things we think that are very, very important about the project are that it has its own identity, separate and apart from the integrated resort and casino that's going to come along if Bally's gets the license. That individual identity we think is wildly important for the city and for the park and for this project in general. The other thing is to make it about golf and experiencing the land. and the views that are available to us on this site. It's a lovely site now. It is a landfill, and that brings its own challenges. We have things and concepts to address all that. As we go through this, remember that we're looking at some early level drawings. These are concept drawings, not detailed designs. There's a lot of little things that still have to happen, but we're very, very excited about the planning and the initial design that we're gonna deliver here. Two things here, it's on the Park Road. It's a loop road, or what has been affectionately called in our design efforts, the Ring Road. It's one-way traffic from north to south. If this happens, there'll also be a new overpass developed as a separate project. But the really important thing here on this slide are the two blue dots we see as future bus stops. There is currently no transit availability here. Bally's is working with the transit authority to get one site actually in and undercover in our bus facility here. So it'll be a year-round, easily accessed thing. And then another stop over in the park itself, west of the Hutchinson Parkway. This is the site. This is essentially where the current parking lot is and the clubhouse that's there today that would be torn down to make room for this new development. And then the new clubhouse just here in the little dip there that will engage the golf course, some new practice areas, and become this project. It will have its own arrival moment here. Oh yeah, we have a pointer. This, by the way, someone asked, is big enough to turn ambulances and emergency vehicles. We have not run an auto turn on it for the fire trucks, but there's real estate there to get in there and do that. The other thing here, and you see, this is the future resort. As that's developed, the parking for golf will be within that space at the same level as the golf. The other key here is golf access from the 18th hole will come through here and across and down and loop back around and become an integrated part of the circulation for the golfers, as well as service vehicles, things like that. This is the main entry. It will come in here and spin through here. You drop off your clubs and people, and then park immediately across here. Only service traffic is back here. So this is essentially all golf right here, other than occasional trucks and garbage and things like that that would come back to the back of the site. Fire trucks and things like that can also access back there. This shows a little bit more diagrammatically how the parking works. It's 2 levels of parking. It's 270 spaces. And then there's overflow above this as well that would be available. You can start to see how all just the logistics of the site are becoming integrated here. Once you go, I'm sorry. The grading here, we enter around 25. The cart staging is about 18. So we come in above that. So you're not looking at a sea of golf carts when you come in. You're looking across all of that to the golf course itself. And that's very deliberate. We wanted to capture that view and look across at that beautiful landscape that is a golf course, both natural and manicured. From the entry element, you can go downstairs. There's storage and support areas over here, as well as the locker rooms and a lounge area for those folks here. And then the cart staging here off to the first tee over to the 9th hole. Back to the main floor, you can see the arrival moment. We've got a little bit of escalation. This is about 3.5 feet of elevation. These stairs can be used for group photographs, but we wanted an ascending moment. We wanted to be able to look across all of this. This is at elevation 31. The golf green's about elevation 30. This area down here was at 19, so you're well above all of that. And you can see across sort of the litter and the people swinging golf clubs and all the clutter, not litter. The cafe is on this side, and obviously a little 19th hole component, kitchens and restrooms here. And then the pro shop here. In the current facility, the pro shop and the cafe are the same space. Operationally, I don't know if you've been there. It feels a little awkward. You don't know if you're in the cafe or in the pro shop or who to talk to or how to get a hold of what. And I consider it very awkward. It's not quite like being in church. You don't know how loud to talk if there's something else going on over there. It's a little different kind of an outdoor church, perhaps. But we have, that element and this element separated. The other thing that this scheme does by this elevation and these separations is the pro shop can now actually see the golf course. They can operationally help manage that just by looking out these windows. There are windows all along here and all along here that currently don't exist. So that visibility will be an enhancement to their operations, and we think the user experience. There's vertical circulation to get up and down to the various levels. And then once you've enjoined the facility one way or another, there's another level above this that is a function room. It'll also have bar service facilities and a service kitchen up here and a large outdoor patio up here that has unbelievable views of the city and the golf course beyond. This elevation at 46, 45 is about even with the Hutchinson Parkway. The current facility is about 20 feet below the Hutchinson down there. So you don't really get great views from that facility looking towards the city. So this is an outdoor area that's undercover that will let you have those views. Be great for parties, great for just relaxing. If you're over here at the park, you can come over here, grab a sandwich, enjoy the outdoors, and engage with the park in a very personal way. As it relates to the larger facility, just for kind of comparison purposes, the clubhouse is here. These are various service and pedestrian accesses throughout the complex that shows how all of the traffic is handled and being managed. And then these are accessible points for people with different accessibility challenges. We have a series of ramps. We've actually tried to flatten the ramps instead of at 1 in 12. We're looking to go 1 in 8, 1 in 10 to really lower that percentage and make them easier to traverse. If you've ever spent a day, hopefully you haven't had to, but if you ever spent a day in a wheelchair, I recommend you do it and experience what those accessibility challenges are. You will find out a different world. The other thing we wanted to do here is make that ramp wider so that someone can actually walk next to someone in a chair and stay engaged with them rather than having them traverse a space like this by themselves or just be pushed. They can actually communicate and stay engaged in a conversation. We wanted to make sure we did things like that. There are elevators and stairs throughout, and then accessible paths everywhere. So we want to be very, very conscious and aware of those accommodations. As you can see, it's a little bit of a complicated site. Golf cart traffic coming through around the practice areas. From here, you see the 9th green, the #1 tee, and a new practice tee here, all without obstruction, not looking through 40 golf carts teeing up for a tournament or just a busy day. Here's a section through the clubhouse facility. Primarily wanted to illustrate that we are above the inundation zone, even the 2100 inundation zone. So another reason to address those grades. with the way we have separated things. We're dry and we don't have too much slope for the vehicular accesses. We're not too steep coming in and out.
That's your golf house in relation to the gaming
Yes.
facility?
Yeah, and this is the 500 key hotel back here.
Is that the section?
Today, yes. Today, yes. Oh, there's another section of this. Yes, yes. This also illustrates that the golf parking's down here, and then the general parking for the resort is up here. Yeah, it's 3,500. Yes. And I'm rounding off. It's not exactly 3,500. Could actually be a little bit more than that. Yep. Yep. And then when we talked about materiality of the thing, we wanted to stay with some strong horizontal emphasis to relate to a links style golf course. If you've not been to Scotland, there are not trees on these places. It's scrub, grass, and low-lying vegetation because the ocean winds and breezes are so strong. Tall things don't grow there. Combine that with the landfill that prohibits us from planting trees over the cap. We're embracing that and trying to leverage that. Hargraves Jones is our landscape architect. Bureau Happold is our mechanical, electrical engineer and structural engineer. And Langen will be our civil and maybe the geotech for the owners. They'll hire that separately. But these were some inspiration images that we liked, and some stone, some glass. We really wanted to expand the glass. And these are other projects that we did. This is the rendering of the project. Yes, yes. They're just contextual feel images. Right. Right. These are mostly scattered throughout the United States. I can locate them for you. That'd be great.
Mike.
I always think it's great to create all these public facilities that upgrade the use for the public good. I think it's wonderful. And I know you've had questions from other members of the commission about some of the breezeways, et cetera, technical questions about building. Should, heaven forbid, because we live in a world where nothing is an assured thing, that one of the licenses not be granted to this project, would this clubhouse renovation still go through?
No. This is entirely contingent on that license.
Understood.
So this is an early rendering of what the facility would look like. We see some stone, a dark metal or wood like panel system. We'd like to not do wood. There are ways to achieve this mix with probably metal panels, we think. And then a lot of glazing here and here. We had a little bit more of the solid elements in earlier phases through a couple of rounds with parks and others. We've increased the amount of glazing. We have a green roof as part of our sustainable approach. And then you can see the viewing deck up here as well. This would be the pro shop, the cafe, and then the other meeting room and expansion of the food and beverage. The landscape moment is reinforcing the link style and the vegetation that's currently out there on the site. There can be some accent colors and things like that at the front door. And that'll just be a refinement that we work through with Hargraves. Here's the view from the ninth hole, or actually the access between the ninth hole and the practice range. You can see there's patios on the back. This is the cafe level and the pro shop. Here's the observation deck and the extra food and beverage up here. The locker rooms down here. And you can see where the golf carts and all of that would be down here out of the way and not obstructing any views from up here.
And is that your newly constructed sort of elevated
back here?
roadway?
This is the rendering of someone's view of the Hutchinson Parkway. It's existing. It's maybe it got a coat of paint in the rendering.
Yeah.
So in a happy moment, it got painted. This is fairly accurate in terms of the transparency of what's underneath it. You can see our goal of wanting to get above that and look over that. This is ramping down, and as you look back towards the city over here, it's about even with this right here. We'll see that in just a second. This is from the golf course, somewhere just approaching the ninth green, looking back towards the pro shop here and the cafe. I'm sorry. Yes.
Sorry, the north facade is the same as the south facade?
The materials generally are. There's a little more solidness to the south facade.
And the relation between the overhang on
Mhm.
the north and the same on the south?
It's a little bit, conceptually right now, they're about the same, just on this side, more to emphasize the horizontal lines of the building. Give it some horizontality rather than a more vertical expression, since this will read as 3 stories. We're looking for these, and this rendering's a little dark, but we're looking for these lines to become the primary vision of the building here. We do see floor to ceiling glass in these event spaces and the food and beverage spaces to capture those views. This is east facing here, north and east here. This would be from the observation terrace looking towards the city. The city may be a little too big in this rendering. The renderers might get a little encouraged by seeing the city, but generally that is the view. We see, socializing areas, very casual places to relax, enjoy a cocktail or a drink or a sandwich, those kinds of things. Really embrace what the park and this building has to offer
Do you
here.
have kids golf programs here?
They do. Yes, absolutely, they do.
Where would they be? Where would the kids be?
They could be here too. But hopefully on the practice range. Hitting golf balls, knocking that energy out of them. And then this is just almost the exact same person as that earlier view, just spinning 90 degrees and looking out over the golf course towards the other direction. Look, this is looking north. And then a potential view, we haven't really studied the interiors in great detail, but a potential view from the cafe space, again, looking north and a little bit east. Floor to ceiling glass, really expansive views, really embracing what the golf course brings to this facility. You can watch people's games. Half of the fun of sitting in a clubhouse like this is watching people play in, right? Missing putts, making putts, cheering them on, or feeling better about your own game, one of the two. Elevations, very fundamental, just calling out the general systems we're considering here. This will all be vetted out in energy models and all kinds of other studies that we're going to do. This is a steel framed building, we believe, at this point. So not a wood frame structure, built for transparency, a little lightness, and flexibility in the future, abilities to do a lot of different things with it. Some sections that show that lower level here with some storage and support areas, the bar and grill, food beverage spaces here and here, and then a section the other direction that shows that patio terrace, that cafe here. This is about, for scale, 50 feet across here. We're hoping for column-free space across that. The columns would all be embedded in these walls or adjacent to these walls, and this would be clear span for a lot of reasons. Flexibility as well as sight lines. And then the pro shop here, looking out across the golf course.
Where's the DFE on that?
Sorry, the
The
DFE.
design flood elevation?
Oh.
Would that be on the building?
Yeah, it's down below here. The 2100 flood elevation is at 17. We're 2 feet above that.
So it's that lowest mark right there.
It's about right here. This is at 19 right here. So 2 feet below that.
Just a time check. How many more slides do we have?
That's it. Essentially, this is some strategies. We're going to do bird-friendly glass. We're going to do LEED gold is our goal. We obviously, these are some of the goals to get there. We haven't drilled into them too deeply yet in too much detail, but we're after that. And then this is just a square footage comparison that shows the zoning square footage within a blanket of each other from the existing clubhouse to the new clubhouse. And that's it.
Thank you. As you can see, there was a lot of interest.
Yeah. Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
No, this is just close. Okay. Okay, thanks so much. So unfortunately, our landscape architect's not here. And I think, Jimmy, you're going to summarize that, and Deborah Martin, who also is a landscape architect, who's we've got those comments. So I won't, the only thing I would want to comment on the site plan is that the reason I was interested in the number of parking is that it seems like your landscape site plan, Langen Hargrave is doing with you, is going to have to accommodate the 3,800 cars coming in.
Mhm.
So you have a transportation consultant, I assume,
Oh, we do.
that's
Yeah,
working with you on that.
we do.
because of
And they
the
actually take a
numbers.
different driveway. Once they get to that turning point, all those cars go on a different
is different.
driveway. Right.
Where did they go?
They'll come up here and ramp in. The golf traffic will come down here and ramp over underneath.
But they're all
that.
going.
Everybody,
that road.
the Department of Transportation has directed us to have 98% of the traffic come in right here.
Mhm.
They've not given us options there.
They come in and then they all.
They come in here. And then, well, they come up here through a porte cochere for the guests for the resort
To get up to that.
to get up to here. And then there are a variety of ramps that come and separate the traffic over here. All the golf is separate from this point on. They don't cross anymore at all.
So you talk about so just to talk a little bit about the building, you talk about a concept of it being about embracing the land and this section of it, you know, kind of responsive to the landscape and whatever, but I'm a little hard pressed to see that because I just see finished sections, elevations very, rendered, but I don't understand what this is embracing. So that's just a question.
Understood.
And then, it's just all of a sudden I've got, renders of interiors and
Right.
people standing around. And I'm curious about the overhangs on the south side because, you have these fantastic views. And that's why I was asking about the difference of those overhangs. So I mean, it seems like a solar study is one thing you start, okay, I increased the overhang there. But is that, really part of the concept? You're gonna have this, maybe it's fine. So you're supporting the soil and then you've got to have an overhang too,
Right.
because you've got a lot of heat coming in here on that glass, right?
Right.
You're gonna have to shade it and then you're gonna have, the story.
No, I understand.
And then you got the bird strike, which is fine. So, and then the winds are coming through here, which we were talking about, so everybody's interested. I think that the air could be great because it's good, maybe not.
We're actually looking forward to that.
I mean, you
because
may not need switch air conditioning, but then
Right.
I was wondering, well, are those windows operable in any way? Could I open some of that and actually let all this wonderful air come in and come through? Because you have a fairly narrow section, so the air would, I'm
Yeah.
sure Vera Happel would tell you, the air will move very happily through your short section.
It would, and we haven't explored that in great detail yet. I love the idea of maybe hopper windows down here at the base that are easily accessed and opened, and then controlled on the other side, a similar operation on the other side, a little higher to get the heat out, right? Working with the predominant winds.
I mean, it would just be great to see a better section, a
Understood.
section that shows the ground in relationship to, because
Mhm.
you talk about it embracing the ground. I see there's a kind of mound on the north side.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
not, that's
yeah,
the
okay.
ninth green over here.
Right, so kind of cutting through that whole piece and seeing that would be
Okay.
extremely helpful. And then you talk about all the visibility, so, yeah, okay, I stand there, I see that. But I think from the section is a really great way to show that,
Okay.
right? And I think I'm going to, rely on my landscape cohorts here, for those comments. I am concerned about, there's nothing you can do about the wind, right? But, you probably have somebody consulting with you on that.
We
Because
do,
there are people who do that, and this is probably very intense here, and the buildings may make it worse.
well, we think
Like we
in the
experienced
summer, we've put people sort of with breeze, but not in the wind. We will get a little chimney effect through the middle here. The other thing is the resort itself will block that south wind a lot because of the size of it and the
Well, I think
proximity.
it
of
would be.
It'll slow it
It would
down.
be very beneficial to do a wind study with maybe you've done that with the buildings, the new giant buildings and this building of how it's gonna come through. Maybe they'll block, I don't know, maybe it'll come around.
It
And we don't
could,
know.
and we will do
So
a
you
wind
need
study for the
clear-
cladding pressures and pedestrian comfort studies before we get into construction documents. We will
I'd
understand
be
that.
for that today.
We'll do it as soon as our client can pull the trigger on those things.
All right. Over and out.
Go ahead, you go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a technical question.
Mhm.
I read the commentary from the other members and I found them to be reasonable, thoughtful, approachable issues that can be addressed. Would you agree? I mean, is there?
I think
any-
a lot are,
Yeah.
yeah. Some would change the form potentially, or increase the square footage in the general areas, which we don't feel like we have the license to do right now. So managing that balance is an issue. I mean, it's not unachievable. It's just an issue.
I didn't find them overly aggressive. But
No,
I'm not the builder, right?
Right.
And so I just was curious if the working relationship was proceeding in a way where there could be a meeting of minds towards an end goal.
I don't know why there couldn't be. And I say that because this is our first interaction with this commission. And so the Parks Department, we worked with them to get here. They're very supportive and very, I can't put words in Joy's mouth, but we've gotten very, very positive responses and joyful responses about where we're headed with this. So there's still room to manipulate things. Absolutely.
I mean, it's interesting, just to just to say we're at concept stage, so we
Right.
would be
Right.
responding to those in the concept model.
Exactly
This
right.
is an architecture review board as well, and the
Right.
Parks Department is purview over parks. so
Understood.
I think that's, thank you. Great.
I just have a few thoughts. One, I've been to Ferry's Point on the ferry. I'm not sure if there's a connection now between the ferry stop and, you know, this facility, but you know, it's a great ferry ride, very beautiful ferry ride. I'm sure a lot of people would come from the city, you know, from Manhattan, for example, on the ferry to this place. So I'm curious about the, you know, circulation between the ferry stop. I know it's a little bit further away, but between the ferry stop and this site. My dad's a golfer actually, so I'm kind of familiar with these, you know, types of spaces too. I think the thing I was most curious about what you said was, you know, the identity of this building. And I think there's a view from the 9th hole where you're facing the building that I think really captured this one. I think this really captures this idea of identity. And, you know, I think this relates to some of the other, you know, similar projects for the casinos and gaming sites that we've been looking at. But, you know, I think this building does have the potential to have its own identity. And it's in some ways a kind of nexus between, you know, the city and the gaming facility. And I think that's expressed in a lot of different ways. Like, you know, the style is very different. You know, I liked a lot of the references that you had. I think even you said it could be done with metal, but, you know, I like the feeling of something warmer in wood and, you know, maybe harkening back to like Scotland and those things. So I thought those were all great ideas. And, you know, I think the branding also is something that's interesting too. And I know there was something that came from Bally's, like with the giant sign, like Bally's Links, that's there now.
Yeah.
yeah.
It used to say somebody else's name out front.
Yeah, someone else.
That's
yeah.
gone now.
Yeah.
And
From there, yeah.
we don't want to, and we're not 100% through with this, but this was sort of the size range we're talking about here. Fairly subtle, still clearly identified. And then there's a whole wayfinding thing on the campus that has to happen. So I say the campus on this corner of the Loop Road.
Well, I think actually campus is the right word. And so how does this have the kind of distinct identity that reflects, you know, its space as something on city property that's for the public, but I'm also sure used by the visitors to the facility as well. You know, and how does that reflect in like the wayfinding, but also just the building identification
Right.
itself. So I have no, you know, specific feedback on that right now because, you know, we'd have to look at it in relationship to the hierarchy of the, you know, the other buildings.
We think it does have its own signage, its own wayfinding from the Loop Road all the way in.
So not
with clear
integrated.
directional signage.
Okay.
Something separate from
I
this,
see.
something individual.
Mhm.
The golf course is here, the resort is here. So we definitely see that.
Okay.
And as does Bally's, they want that identity separation as well too. And the ferry, to your point, Bally's is currently running for the neighborhoods around a shuttle from the ferry to the neighborhoods to assist in that cross traffic around the end of the park. It did not exist until now. There's no bus service down there at all. So
That's great. Yeah.
I had one last question about the community and the Parks Department and potential community programs, because I don't golf. So I don't know what kind of programs they have available. You probably do, and working closely with the Parks Department, what they're doing, like what, you know, it's a public park.
it
Even though
is.
it's golf, it's a public.
It is.
There's very few of these, so it's really fantastic. So I want to make sure that the kids who are interested are there and it's not just cocktails. And
Exactly.
that people have, that the kids.
That was just my use of the facility. So sorry
Right,
about that.
So, you know, that the kids, where are they and what are they doing? And
Yeah.
where, are there special spaces for them? And I don't know, it's just such a great opportunity for kids from the Bronx to get to be outside and do a sport outside like this.
Yeah, I grew up playing golf. From the time I was 10, my parents would drop me off at the golf course. And I would just be there all day and I would get Cokes and fries and have lunch there and stuff like that in the summer. And hit golf balls and play around
Right.
once in a while.
I didn't see
They're
them.
in amongst them.
Oh, they would-
Well, I didn't, you're right, their kids aren't in the renderings, but it was a
but
different
just
crowd.
spaces but these look like cocktails, that's my point.
Yeah,
So I just was thinking, where are they getting their hamburgers and, you know, that kind of stuff.
right.
I think that's important.
Okay.
I think it does give it a sense of identity too, to have spaces like that.
Yeah. the
Yeah.
different uses.
I mean,
I
I
know
think-
there are outreach programs that have kids clinics and, you
Right,
know,
but our
golf
architects have
teaching and things like that.
responsibility to interpret the program
Yes,
in their space that they're designing. So I think
Correct.
that's part of what we do.
it's a fair
So I
point.
really
Yeah.
exciting to see that.
Okay.
Any other commissioners? Questions, comments? I would like to share some thoughts from our president, Deborah Martin, who's not
Okay.
with us, just so they're on the record. You've addressed some of this, but I'll ask you some questions and then you can
Fair enough.
elaborate on it for the record. Can you share your rationale for the use of two separate volumes and the associated wind tunnel being created? Also ADA access and universal accessibility, materiality and context, and any circulation conflicts between different modes of transport and pedestrians.
Right. So the first one's the separate massing of the pro shop and the food and beverage component. We like that for a couple of reasons. One, it just gives some separation, whether they were adjacent or not. We see that as a chance to operationally segregate those things and get fewer distractions in either one of those components and more clarity for visitors. Like, I'm going to the cafe, boom, I'm going there. I don't have to deal with
Should we be looking
my
at this
dad.
later?
We can.
Yeah, that.
I didn't know where we are with time, but right here. So on arrival, you come up, you can go to the cafe or the pro shop, and then there'll be seating and everything around outside here too. We like that. We like that. It's also in the winter when they close the course in the winter. That they just do. They close it in October, November, and it opens back up in March, I believe. So that lets that be segregated, apart, secured, and then people can still come and go from here and use this space. I'm sorry, the last part of that question.
So it is seasonal, right?
Yeah, well, the golf is, this does not have to be here. This can be, it's currently seasonal. Chris, you're online still. Chris
Oh,
Jewett
yeah.
is with Bally's. Do you have operational goals for the winter season here?
Is Chris able
Hi,
to?
hi, this is Chris
There.
Stewart. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. Sorry, I couldn't join. So to answer the question, today our golf season typically runs just based on the weather. We open typically in early to mid-April. This year, I think we opened about April 14th, and then we typically close shortly after or around Thanksgiving. So you've got essentially 8 or so months of actual golf operations where the clubhouse is fully operational 7 days a week. But we do also utilize our event facility today at the current existing facility throughout the year, even when golf is closed. I think this gives the ability to promote that even more. So, especially with some of these views, the enclosures, it's actually a slightly larger banquet space enclosed indoors or event space indoors than what we have today. And I think Jess can keep me honest here. I believe we'll be able to enclose that outdoor space or put heaters in and be able to operate even further into those shoulder seasons if we decide to do so, or there's a desire. I think with these views, it's great. The views today, you can only really see the 18th hole in green and a little bit of the bridge, but not from the dining areas. And up the East River, you don't get to actually see the Manhattan skyline.
Right. I think you're accurate, Chris.
So there's plenty of time to do all that children's programming that Lori is encouraging you to do.
Yeah, we currently partner with 6 or 7 different programs from Met PGA, Junior Golf, Kips Bay, Boys and Girls Club. There's actually, and we could probably share the flyer that we submit to parks if the commission is interested. We do an annual couple-page summary of our community involvement. Happy to share that as a follow-up item, just so you can see what we're already doing today.
Great. I had another point from President Martin. If you could talk, and briefly touched on this, but question about the redesigning of the points of access to be more inclusive and less step-based. As the stairs are relentless. I am paraphrasing. And the ADA ramp feels unintegrated and like an afterthought, particularly since it does not appear to be shown in the renderings or elevations at that time. Considering how someone is arriving with golf clubs may circulate throughout the space.
Right. So we saw those comments and we started to make some of those adjustments. The initial plan that they reviewed had too many steps, so we've reduced those by about 35%. And we will work to gain some change in elevation here to minimize it even further. We don't think that the steps are the end of the world here. We think we can embrace that and treat them. We did take this stair that was shown a little too narrow graphically. We've doubled the width of that to make that easier for people to come and go up and down to the club. This goes down to the clubhouse level. We've widened these, but we still think this would exist behind a wall, not be just a ramp. That the wall could wrap that element, soften it, and become its own thing, its own space, and not make a feature of the ramp. We don't think you have to make it a feature. We think it needs to be convenient and functional and well done. That part we get. We do want to widen it to that discussion we had earlier about being able to walk with somebody or join somebody on their way up or down that component.
Just one comment on that, from the architecture point of view. So if you have a section cutting through here at the end, if you did, when you will.
We will.
That section, we'd see that and we could see the steps, because I didn't comment because these were coming up by others, cohorts, but the, people carrying golf clubs, people from the Bronx are coming on the bus, they've got their stuff. I mean, as I said, I don't go, I can only imagine. So you're going up, you said you're tired, or it just seems odd. It seems odd, this kind of formal steps just for the photos. So maybe there's another place for that to happen. And the ramp seems so friendly rather than to hide it behind. And I think your idea about lifting the elevation is a great idea. You're in charge of all that. You've got Langen on board.
Right.
You need elevation.
We do.
So go for it. Yeah.
So I'll explain real quickly why we do this. This elevation out here at 25 is kind of a given because of a lot of like 20 other things working on the site. To get from 25, if we flatten that out down to 25 or 6 to make that nominally the same, it pushes us down into the floodplain down below. It would push us down into that end at below 17 feet. So when we were asked to stay above that, we're above today's floodplain at 14, but when it goes to 17.
For your exterior ramps, you're supposed to stay above that?
For the ground, for the floor below, for this to be above the inundation level at 17 feet, we don't have the room to do that without keeping the entry level where it is here with these steps.
Okay, so
And then this would get awkwardly steep in here for vehicles and people to walk on as well. That would be about a 4 foot. If we brought everything up to this level, this gets really steep in here. Right.
Anyway, keep going.
Are there any further comments or questions from commissioners? Seeing none. So when returning for an interim review before proceeding to preliminary, we would ask that you please address certainly the comments from President Martin that I've relayed to you, questions about maybe further minimizing the steps. Commissioner Hawkinson's questions about programs, spaces for kids, not associated with wine glasses and alcohol content. We saw in your drawings, and questions about the windows being operable, air movement, including studies, and wanting to see some better sections relevant to the wind as well. And some questions about the traffic flow out in front. And Lori's bigger question about the question of embracing the land and the building embracing the land. And I think it's fair to say that our landscape architect will have some more thoughts as you become more clear about your intentions in that space. I think it's a little early for her to come in with significant comments because it's so early in what you've presented to us so far, but that will be forthcoming. Are there any other comments, questions before we let you go?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, and I agree with you that we'll draw some more sections and illustrate some things better so they're easier understood.
Well, and change and iterate.
Yes. Like I said, early
Concepts,
passes,
Early concepts.
early concept. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Yes.
We're just giving the team a moment to gather and we'll get started fairly quickly. Can you hear me now? Okay, we're ready to get started again. If we're good technology-wise, okay, we are. Here you go.
We will now continue the committee meeting with the conceptual review of the construction of streetscape improvements and 2 multi-level enclosed pedestrian bridges as part of the Coney Island Gaming Facility and Resort at Stillwell Avenue and West 12th Street between Surf Avenue and Wonder Wheel Way in Brooklyn. We will not we will not hear public testimony or vote on this project today. Please note, PEDC jurisdiction does not include the proposed Coney Gaming Facility, hotel, or parking structure, all of which is located on private property. PDC jurisdiction does include the public right-of-ways and the sky bridges over city property. Presenters, you may begin when ready.
Thank you, commissioners. Good morning. Nick Betnati, Deputy Director of Urban Design for DOT. I'm just going to say a quick hello. Obviously, much of this is over public right-of-way, so DOT is the agency with jurisdiction, and we're excited to have a great team here today to walk you through the proposal. We'll try to be concise because we know there's a lot of discussion and happy to get to it. With that, I'll turn it over to Jody.
Thank you so much. Hi, commissioners. Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Jody Stein. I'm a partner with the law firm of Shepherd Mullen and Land Use Counsel for the Coney. Before we begin, I just want to say a few things. I want to take a moment to let you know just how excited we are to finally be here before you today. This project is completely transformative for Coney Island, and not just for the entertainment district, as you will hear, but also for the entire neighborhood, as we offer a variety of programs, partnerships, trainings, local hirings, and ultimately careers. And that's not even including the $200 million community trust fund that will be set up for the community if the Coney wins this license. Coney Island is one of the most underserved communities in all of New York City, and we want to see that change. In that vein, we have been working very hard. And this has been a long process for us. We started working on this in 2022, and we went through numerous iterations of this project. And we have been working with the city agencies for years. Please keep in mind, we do not have a sprawling site like some of the other projects do. And we have been working with many, many city agencies who have many different ideas of what this project should look like. And so we have taken a lot of input on this project over the years to get it to where it is today. And so we are really looking forward to working with you during this process. So now let me tell you about our amazing team. So our team includes a joint venture between Global Gaming Solutions, Thor Equities, Saratoga Casino and Hotel, and Legends. Our consultants include TY Lin, which was formerly Sam Schwartz, FX Collaborative, Shepherd Mullen, AECOM, W Architecture and Landscape, who is here today. FX Collaborative is also here today, I forgot to mention, HVG, Cosentini, and D. Simone. I'm going to hand it over now as we go to the next slide. Sorry. Before I hand it over, we have some key project drivers that I'd like to tell you about. So our key project drivers include creating a year-round entertainment district for and destination for Brooklyn, and specifically for the Coney Island Entertainment District. We want to create a community catalyst for the Coney Island area that provides economic development for Coney Island, not just for 90 days out of the year, but for 365 days out of the year. We want to create a generator of careers, again, not just for 90 days out of the year. We want to create a model of resiliency and sustainability and create a compelling entertainment district where people can come all throughout the year. And we want to create a multimodal transportation destination for underserved area of Brooklyn. Next slide. I'm going to hand it over to Dan Kaplan from FX Collaborative.
Thanks, Jody. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And Amy and I are going to tag team this, and I'll just start first like where the site is located and how it's related to the rest of the entertainment district. What's outlined in red is the development site. The blue the blue, the green, the yellow, those are all EDC and park site, and the yellows are really the notable landmarks with a lower and uppercase L. So our thesis is that Stillwell Avenue is the connector from the Stillwell Avenue terminus to the beach. This is a 100-foot wide street. It's already been improved. 40% of it to the south of the site has already been improved. And we're talking about the 60% to the north from Surf Avenue to that park area. Surf, major east-west. Of course, the boardwalk, major east-west. One day, Wonder Wheel Way, potentially major east-west right now. The properties immediately to the south have been leased by EDC to amusements, but the plan anticipates that. As Jody said, this is an ambitious project. It's a year-round destination. It's really intended to be synergistic with the existing amusements. I think it's worth noting that the gaming is approximately 25% of the gross square footage of the project. Hotel, convention, entertainment venue, food and beverage. Really, it's a multi-use facility. One thing, Stillwell Avenue comes through here. That's already the improvements that have been made, and we're talking about Stillwell and 12th in this area here. We looked for a long time at the historical, Coney Island looms so large in our sort of urban and architectural and New York imagination, if you will, and we've really embraced that. It welcomed huge crowds. It primarily made up of super blocks, and really where the sort of nighttime illumination was invented, or first time New Yorkers saw it, and also large entrances, including this one on the upper left with arched openings to the ocean. Today, it still welcomes large crowds, very seasonal. And this is bottom right is really what welcomes you today on Stillwell Avenue. It's inhospitable, 45-degree parking, sad trees on the side. It's not really where, it's not a gateway. There was some sort of questions and about the architectural expression. Also going back to the history of Coney, we really embrace this this approach. The ground floor is very extroverted. It's very granular. There are a lot of little storefronts, each competing for its own identity and own business. We incorporated that, we looked to that, and above that were the larger structures. So as we get to, which could be in a sort of more modern idiom, done in this approach of a diagonalized facade and with super graphics integrated and so forth. One key proposal, part of our proposal, is the rooftop extension of the public realm. So that's Stillwell Avenue. That is the Stillwell Walk, which Amy will describe in detail. There's an acre of public open space accessible to the public without going to the gaming facility, elevators, escalators, with a stop along the way that overlooks the Wonder Wheel to get to the top, and this 1 acre programmed open space open to everybody. So from Stillwell, a subway down, up and over, and looking out onto the beach and the amusements. From a stacking point of view, our real approach was to the greatest degree possible, to make the ground floor extroverted, public use, outwardly facing uses, retail, small scale retail, the entrance to the gaming facility, lobbies, and so forth. To do that, we brought the porte cocheres and all those things that one needs for these type of facilities inside the building, access off of 12th Street, and then the parking facility is on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor, approximately 1,500 spaces. There is part of the bridge that connects that back over and out to 15th Street to disperse the number of cars. The purple is the actual gaming facility. The blue is the convention and entertainment venue, including a very large entertainment venue at the top that has access to that public terrace and its own terrace. And it is connected as well on the bridge. On the south side, the gaming facility does also bridge over the 12th Street Bridge. And finally, the hotel also. Did you want to quickly talk through the bridge? Yeah.
Sure. So these are the demapping volume areas. Just from overhead, you can see them on Stillwell Avenue and on West 12th Street. And just a quick overview of where we are in the ULURP process, because it is a ULURP. We finished our city planning commission. We got approval on May 7th and we're before city council, and we have not had our public hearing or vote yet. So that hasn't been scheduled, but it will be within the next month.
Great. I'm just going to move on. One last thing before I turn it over. I think this sums up our design identity approach, if you will. So, the highly activated ground plane, public realm, smaller scale, granular storefronts, a podium that sort of reflects the scale of the amusements, greenery at the podium roof, private and significantly public, and then a faceted tower above that reflects the sky and sky at the beach. Amy, do you want to take on, or I guess I don't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So for the landscape, in all of this activity and busyness, we wanted to bring an element of calm and also help tie the site to its natural context. So we're referencing the idea of a coastal dune forest, which would have been the condition way back when, before development came to this site. And as you can see on Stillwell Walk, we wanted to create a procession of activities, starting from surf and carrying you out all the way to the boardwalk and the Coney sign. The idea is to get the feeling of those dunes, have a little bit of a back and forth and up and down impact, and bring in that natural element. Our site is big enough. We're accommodating the emergency vehicles and also allowing for crowds, but we also have spaces that are shady and smaller and more intimate. So it's a combination of both active and open and intimate spaces. And then, of course, along both sides, it's activated by the small scale retail that Dan mentioned. For those bridges, we're taking the opportunity to help use that bridge to frame the view of that Coney sign in the distance. And then also the mirrored underside of the bridge allows us to kind of add that funhouse sensibility and the Coney sensibility there. Zooming in a little bit more, if you start at the first plaza at Surf Avenue, we have enough room for everyday community events, but then even more importantly, to handle the Nathan's event, which Nathan's Hot Dogs are very supportive of the project and excited about it. So we want to make sure we continue that tradition and allow space for that. Then as we move a little bit further in, you see these dune-shaped seat walls and a little island grove of planting that helps create a place for meeting and sitting and relaxing amongst all the busyness. And then moving a little bit further, there's another opening, another plaza at the midway point where we're envisioning wayfinding signage as well as fairs and markets taking place, room for flexible seating and games. And then as we keep going along, we start to see the water features and the arcade entry to the casino on either side. And this is partly the entry point. We're creating these slowly rising, sloping walkways that are interspersed with planting. So you get that sense of walking up through something to the dune. It invites you in, but it's also a very easy way to get to the elevation of the buildings. And then as we move along, or well, here first, here's a view looking back toward the, to the Grove, at Surf. And you see the gentle way that the walkways come up to the building. And then our final plaza, just before you get to the Coney sign, or sorry, the Luna Park sign. In this plaza, we're thinking of it as more of a flexible performance space for small performances. It could also be programmed for recreational activities. And of course, just hanging out and checking out people coming and going. So all in all, we feel like this is a really wonderful way to not only bring the natural history of the site in, as well as referencing the history of Coney and creating a new life for Stillwell Avenue. The footprint of the gambling facility, do we know what the square footage is?
The footprint of the gambling.
How long is it? Approximately 300,000 square feet.
Yeah, I saw that, but what does that, what is 300,000? What is that?
You mean in square feet,
Yeah.
in the whole gaming facility,
Yeah.
it's about 1.6 million square feet, the whole facility together.
And how large is the facility, that the towering facility?
The hotel portion.
Yeah.
It gets up to a height of about 400 feet and 27 stories.
27 stories.
Yeah, yeah.
You have more to go?
I think
That's,
that's.
this is
that was it.
outside, yeah.
That's it?
The one other thing that I would add about Stillwell Walk, which is the part that Amy was just explaining, is that it is being, part of the ULURP is that it's being, there is a grade change, so we're raising the grade just to account for some flood mitigation and also to meet the DFE of the building, which is at 13, which is why you see the steps that are trying to meet the DFE. So we're raising it, but we can't raise it too much because we have to come back down to meet Wonder Wheel Way, which is the EDC land or property. So it's coming up from Surf and then kind of coming back down to meet Wonder Wheel Way. And one more thing, because that portion of Stillwell Walk is being pedestrianized because the cars are going over the bridge in Stillwell Walk, over the Stillwell Bridge. That was being done through the CREA process, which is complete and was finished on May 7th with our FEIS, which was published and completed.
Great. Commissioners? Comments, suggestions? Commissioner Hawkins?
Well, I have several comments and thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have an esteemed group of people working on this. Can we go? So first of all, I understand what our purview is. So I can't talk about the things I wish I could talk about. So I'm not gonna go.
You could talk about them.
You probably wouldn't want to hear what I have to say. So I'm going to stick to our purview, which I have to. So the Stillwell Avenue, these and the sky bridges and the landscape. And then maybe what, because we represent the public, we have to remind ourselves. And quality of life for the people there and all New Yorkers and what they see and what they experience as they go to their public beach and all this wonderful place. I actually think those old funky photos are fantastic. That's what I always love going to, but whatever. So I don't mind all that. So if we look at the plan, maybe we go to the plan, because I was a bit confused on the, and maybe some of this will be repeated with my colleagues' comments who aren't here.
Overall plan?
Just,
or what
well,
Plan of
I mean,
Stillwell.
let's back up for the whole guide. Let's the
Yeah.
whole site plan for a second. So we can
Yeah.
understand, there are two sky bridges, right?
Yeah, but,
So we can see the sky bridges where they are in plan.
so let's, I think
There,
this is the.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got Stillwell and then you have one West 12th, right?
This is West.
Right, and we mainly saw the landscape for Stillwell.
Yeah.
Actually, that's all we
That's
saw.
because that's the only one that's being landscaped because it's the only one that's pedestrianized.
Oh,
Stillwell is actually,
There are
I'm
no
sorry,
people on West 12th?
West 12th Street is actually where the cars are coming in and where everyone is entering. And then they're coming in and being dropped off through a valet or either self-park and then going right up and into the building. So that all the cars are going in and then out of the way.
So, yeah, in addition, sidewalks this existing sidewalk, extended and improved on, the east side of 12th because of the getting people in, the load on traffic, with actually carving into the site on this side so that you have a 12-foot sidewalk in the
So I think that would be great to see, because
Yeah.
people, we see this at other locations like
Right.
Queens Future, where people are gonna be walking through the parking garage to get to their park.
Right.
So they might take that route because it's closer to where they live, or where they're coming from. I mean, the subway is
It's right.
up there,
It's right
the upper
there.
left, right? I mean, that's important, like how are people getting here?
Yes.
Because they're not
Yes.
parking here, it's probably too expensive.
Right.
So they're coming from somewhere else,
I think
like
that's.
from a bus and
Yeah.
which is, where's the bus stop?
Do you have, it's right, do you have the point, the red dot point? I don't know how to use this.
Just correctly there.
It's right here.
There.
This is where the bus and the subway are.
So they're gonna mostly come Stillwell.
Most people are
Yes.
coming Stillwell. I would also say that West 12, north of the site, within 100 feet, is the overhead of to double level elevated of the trees that come. So it's a visual corridor.
Right,
There already is one.
right. I mean,
There you go. Yeah, I appreciate
I am, I'll go on the record here, I am against the sky bridges completely. Because I feel that that's public space, and I feel that there's very little public space left here above buildings. The High Line has public space, it's all open above, it wasn't allowed that towers on either side were allowed to join and connect over my public space. I own that, I pay taxes on it, sort of right here. So I'm not even gonna comment on the height or anything. I don't think they should be there. It is a very tight site, but you, wherever you are, so just chose to build there and do all this massing, right? So, you know, I just think everybody should be able to walk and have a very pleasurable and clear view of this open, wonderful resource for this neighborhood. I wanted to ask also about, so your scheme for the lower level is to emulate the activity. I mean, so again, I'm one person speaking. I mean, I think one could also take the opposite approach and let the beautiful landmarks of these rides and craziness that's there, that what people love about this place, why they go there in the summer and draws all the people, and people come on, the subway, it's like really a great way to get there. To let those be the objects and have the buildings recede and be quieter and be a little more respectful of this crazy, wonderful, exuberant carnival life that's there, rather than to emulate it. And some of those buildings that you showed are by colleagues of mine, and they probably should get credit.
Yes.
So, they're like in Saudi Arabia, for instance. So that's a whole other thing. But, I do think the land, so that's my comment about the base, but one voice, I just think it's very busy. I think would be wonderful to just, the thing that's very light is actually one of the most exciting things, which is the roller coaster and all that. And I just love that to be remain my present. As a,
The one on top.
the one on, the cyclone, the cyclone. The cyclone. I bring that, it's
The
crazy.
cyclone is over here.
Right, but what is that thing on top you're copying?
This is the light, this is the
Okay,
light.
so I don't need that. I just
installation.
like the cyclone. I like,
Thunderbolt.
but the
This is-
Thunderbolt over
The
there, right?
Thunderbolt is over
Okay,
here,
so-
and this is an art installation.
Oh, that's
Right,
not.
so I
It's
don't.
not a
need
ride.
Any of that. I don't need any of that. I feel like all the other, what's there is the excitement and the history and the strength of what's there. Then if we go to the plan of Stillwell. I'm sympathetic to the landscape architects wanting to bring in, the softness of the site. I just don't know how they're going to do that in the middle of the street, in the middle of a casino. I would love to see the sections through that, the cross sections through that. I think it's a real struggle. I'm worried about the part I'm not voting for, which is that sky bridge. All of a sudden I saw dotted lines, like things are under the sky bridge on your plan. If we go zoom in now, and we see things under there. Well, there you go. So all of a sudden I'm under the Sky Bridge. So I'm in a narrow space. I don't really know what the quality of light is, which we can learn from studies. With the heights of these, how much we'll come through and see, but then. This
This is under the Sky Bridge.
under this, so I don't even see the Sky Bridge. You made it
It's
so
right.
bright, so clearly like that, I don't see it, and it's gonna be dark. And I know, but that's
can
even
be-
worse.
it
I
can
mean,
be
I don't
lighted.
know. I just don't, the Sky Bridge, okay. But I would like, you know, the idea, now it's demapped, it's not a road anymore.
Mhm.
It's pedestrian.
This is
It's
pedestrian.
all Pedestrian, and I mean, we'll hear from the landscape architects. I'm just concerned that all this wonderful, the ideas that you have, there's not enough space to accomplish that in this tight, even though it's 100 feet, right?
It's 100 feet wide.
Right. With people, X number of people going there to the beach,
Mhm.
hopefully still. And then into the buildings because they aren't really encouraged to go down the other street because the sidewalks are narrow and the traffic is there. So this is it. You know, this is everybody. It's a lot of people. So I'm concerned about that with this landscape approach. So they seem to be in conflict underneath this walkway. Okay,
Commissioner Henson?
Yeah, for me, going to Coney Island. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give you a chance to, on the bridges, like, can you talk about the bridges? Maybe tell us the reason and the vision?
Yeah. Yeah. so-
And have you made any changes to the massing? Can you make more?
So I just want to, I definitely appreciate the concern. I mean, we've provided a lot of responses to, we'll come back to this, to the comments and a lot of work, solar studies, wind studies. I really feel that this is like captures the intention the clearest, and that where the parking lot street was before, when you come off the subway, when you're coming down off the bus and you're heading south, that this bridge and the two masses on either side, the transparency, Nathan's, all act as a composition to create a public space that welcomes everybody to Coney Island. And actually, the casino entrance is off the left. Everybody, you know, people, if you're heading to the amusements, you're going south. There was a comment about, which, you know, we had looked at these bridges carefully as well, that there was a comment about comparisons with the Port Authority overflies. And I will say this dimension, and it's been raised, is 50 feet, and that's twice the height of what's at those overbuilds. I think they're 20 to 24 feet, so 2 to 2.5 times the height. And also they're much deeper. They range from about 110 to 140 feet, 150 feet deep. These are about, this one is about 70. So the proportions are much higher. Then it's lined on both sides with active uses and with really public facing activity, non-gaming activity for most of it. And then it culminates in this route up to the open space that faces onto, that overlooks the Coney Island. So I really feel that points are really well taken about the landscape and is it too congested, and this is a conceptual design and it can go through, simplification and so forth. But I think this is truly set up for success here in terms of a public entrance to the entire amusement district, where today it's really, it's pretty lackluster. I hear you about West 12th. We'll provide more information on it. It is really, I think it's also worth noting in the whole network of Coney Island, this is called Jones Walk. And what's nice about Jones Walk is it's lined with all those little tiny, areas. It's 20 to 25 feet wide. My sense is if people are coming from east, they're coming down this way. people coming from the north or the west, they're coming down this way or on 15th Street. There's very few people, right in the middle. So, yeah, please.
And just to, and I respectfully, just to bring home the point,
Mhm.
you know, in order to pedestrianize Stillwell, we are bringing cars over through the bridge, on the Stillwell Bridge to, you know, in order to pedestrianize Stillwell Walk, we're bringing them through the bridge and to.
Over between buildings.
We're bringing them through the bridge. The cars will travel over the bridge, over Stillwell Walk, in order to pedestrianize Stillwell to bring them over. Do you want to go through the, actually the vehicular plan?
I don't really care whether the cars go over.
And one of the things I just want to bring up is that and this is all just very respectfully going to, and you can see the cars kind of, they go right over here and then they come out and out on 15th. And one of the things, if you can go to the beginning section with the photos of Stillwell, I think it's important to note that what's, you know, what we're trying to save here is not very much. The things that are here now on these sites, this view is not great. The view that is going to be there from the ground floor will still be there. You'll still be able to see exactly through there. You cannot see the beach. From that view, the beach is at a higher elevation right there. You can see the boardwalk. You can see the Luna Park.
You'll see the sign, but you won't see the sidewalk. You won't see the roller coaster.
That roller coaster, the new roller coaster, you will not be able to see, but all this is new. It was put up in 2022.
The cyclone you will be able to
The
see.
cyclone is
over.
all the way, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, that you will be able
And
to
the
see.
Thunderbolt.
And the Thunderbolt is off on West 15th Street. But you know, the boardwalk and the beach, the boardwalk is at a higher elevation and it blocks the beach. So, yes.
Sorry, just from the DOT perspective, I want to hone in on the point. We can't pedestrianize Stillwell the way that it's shown. It cannot be a fully public space without that vehicular connection happening over the Stillwell Bridge. Right, so without that Sky Bridge piece, at least the connecting from the parking piece across, this remains what you see in that bottom right? It stays a street.
Question, does that have to do with the number of parking spaces? I mean, if you.
It's the number of,
Yeah, you're putting all this parking right in front of the beach.
it's the volume of cars that are coming, right?
The volume of cars is why you need the bridge. Right, so if we didn't provide all of that parking space right against the beach up in the air, we wouldn't need the bridge.
Sure, but
People could take public transportation or.
I mean, as far as I can understand, and I don't know if we have, you know, TOI Lens, like the transportation analysis, even with all of the mode share going to public transit, you still need the number of spaces that you're talking about here. I mean, we heard Bally's, they have 3,800 parking spaces in their facility, right? This is a far.
I just think today they're short parking spaces. Today, Coney Island is short parking spaces with nothing. And so we went through many iterations without bridges, with bridges, pedestrian bridges, I mean, subsurface bridges. We went through everything. We worked with city planning, we worked with DOT, we studied everything. FX went through many iterations to try and figure out what would work best. This worked best. I do, and
So in all due
All
respect to my colleagues, it may be too big.
No.
It just may be too big, you're doing something too big.
I think, and again, there's a shortfall today with nothing there. So of parking. So they're right, you go there today, you have trouble finding a parking space.
Is this parking open to beyond just the casino?
It is, it's open to
Is
everybody.
it free?
It's not decided, but likely will not be free, but it is. If you visit the site.
Make it work.
Financially. Right.
I don't know.
Right, there is no free parking in
There's no
Coney
free
Island,
parking.
so if you park anywhere in Coney Island
Yeah.
today, you will be paying
Yeah.
for parking.
Are there commissioner
I
comments?
think what Lori is saying is we're taking a 38 short and making it a 42 long, which is never an easy thing to do. So
I want to ask the question that I asked of the group that came in before. I think what you're getting are very reasonable, thoughtful comments, right? From the commissioners who saw the program before to the additive comments today. Do you think that you're able to work within the context of these comments to get to a place where, you know, it's responsive in a productive way?
I think that to the, you know, if the comments aren't no bridges, we cannot work with that. But if the comments are, you know, what can we do? Can we work with you? I think we can, you know, we can talk, we can have a productive conversation. Yes.
Manuel?
I think the part where you're talking about like the identity of Coney Island as being these separate stalls, each one is trying to get your attention. I think that's true statements about what the feeling of Coney Island is. And I think the bridges take away from that in terms of identity, because take away from that idea, because it becomes a monolith. So if you look at the first two opening slides, you know, even if you compare, like on the right is Nathan, or the one that shows the rendering of the Coney and Welcome to Coney Island.
Yeah, I'll go with this story. Sorry.
You know, the idea that it's like there's a continuity between the buildings, I think contributes to the sense of like monolith, I think. And Coney Island, it's, you know, I like to call, you know, personally, I call it like the quote unquote real New York. It has just so much incredible diversity. You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to spend much money to be there. Everyone's there. And I just think, you know, this like welcome to Coney Island sign. This is, you know, this is a strong word, but it actually offends me to see that there. I mean, I know this is just a conceptual rendering, but, you know, there's just been something placed over, you know, what is this kind of like iconic, you know, historic thing that gives New York City its identity, one part of it, you know. It has charm, even though it's junky and dumpy, but, you know, I think in the design world, we all know like Delirious New York 2 and like the role of Luna Park and Coney Island 2. So I just feel like this, you know, I just feel like this, perhaps this, it's not a suggestion, I'm not an architect, but, you know, maybe there's just, this is stylized in a different way so that it breaks up this, you know, kind of continuity between the two. But I mean, I get that it's, you know, it's not great conditions right now, but it's a difficult project because of all the sites, your site is like the least tabula rasa, right? And even like the Mets Park has an empty parking lot. So I get that there's a lot to work with, or there's a lot that you have to work with, but, you know, I just think like if this became reality and the sign said, welcome to Coney Island, I would just think Coney Island isn't here anymore, you know? And I'm not against like development or this project or anything like that, but I just think also that, you know, these these bridges, sky bridges could, you know, be designed in a slightly, you know, different way to differentiate it. And really draw from this kind of character of like, you know, the individual small stalls, the kind of like legacy, et cetera.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Before I attempt to recap, Bill?
Well, I mean, I just pair the last two commissioners' comments together. Obviously, you know, the specific design of the bridge is something we can certainly refine and get better at. And I do think there is ambiguity currently in the existing design between wanting to make it feel like one large structure or three individual blocks with connectors. And I think, you know, we could certainly emphasize the latter strategy and really lean into the latter strategy, if you will, and you know, reduce the apparent bulk of it and B, create it so it's more neutral and less of a statement. And there was no, and honestly, there was no at all intention to offend. And you know,
It's a strong word. I
know.
It's my adopted city. I'm New Yorker,
Yorkers.
so.
Yeah, we were trying to bring forward the you know, going closer to surf. So.
Can you?
Just to,
sorry,
like,
yeah.
look at it, but this is Coney Island.
Right.
In a way, the sign could be more pedestrian level and say the beach is forward, something, and I'm not trying to design it for you, just give me understand that, yeah.
Can you actually point to this picture and detail where are the traffic flows? How many lanes or stories of traffic are in that sign? And where is the pedestrian traffic? And what is this building here? And what is that building with the blue?
Okay.
What is the orange and what is the blue? How are they integrated? And where is the
Sure.
traffic going back
Sure.
and forth?
Absolutely. So, this is the westernmost block in blue and has the rooftop open space that's connected to this side. This is the orange is the main central block of the project. So you're looking south, surf is coming across.
So I'm asking.
No,
There's the parking garage.
So the
Where's
parking
the-
garage is from basically from here up to about here. And then it comes back. So that lower level is the one garage, and it's in the latest iteration, which isn't exactly reflected in this rendering. It is lifted up and is reduced. And then there are two levels of the casino floor that span across the bridge from both sides. And then above that is the public access. So that yellow escalator came up, comes across and
It is shown in one of the sections. If you want to see it, we can point to it in the presentation. I can show it to you. You wanna? Oh, that was a good one. Stop that too.
yeah.
And that's actually how the black line is actually how the vehicular stimulation works.
Okay, so West 12th Street. West 12th Street has more than just the parking over it.
West 12th Street doesn't have parking.
So
I know, I mean, the drive, I'm looking at
Yes.
what's above it's high, the so-called Sky Bridge, which
West
is actually
12th
a
or
building over West 12th.
So it's got.
Has other things, has a
Yes, it does.
restaurant and
Yes, it does.
hotel.
It had-
It also has
convention.
the connections to get to the central core of the project, which has the porte cochere, which has the vertical circulation and sort of internalizing that function and then bringing it up and then connecting it here. Yeah, go ahead.
Pedestrian connection, pedestrian.
Yes,
That's
yes,
on this, I mean,
yes, correct.
And West 12th Street itself, we used part of the applicant's property to add another lane onto West 12th Street. And so a lot of the pedestrian connection is taken up off of the street level and into the bridge to avoid this
Conflicts.
pedestrian vehicular conflict.
So in some cities, that's frowned upon. Sky bridges, right? I mean, sure you guys know that, like it's kind of a 70s idea that went by the wayside, and now the idea of having people on the street, but you think it's too many people. But I mean, maybe the building's too big. Maybe that's what it's big. But I think the idea of just avoiding the people on the street is just another unfortunate event. It would also be great to see a rendering in the daytime looking down the landscape, right? View.
From the top.
Well, I'm coming from the subway, I'm looking where I might be going if it's not into a casino or the hotel.
Right.
And I'm going to try to find the boardwalk
Oh, sure. We have that.
without the lights.
Fine, yeah,
Yeah, right, so daytime,
sure.
because that's when people go to the beach.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any further comments?
I mean, for me, like the last slide is like a kind of vision slide, where you're looking from the beach. I mean, to me that, you can see from that side that it doesn't feel as like intrusive, like this. I think this is, you see the cyclone, you see the Wonder Wheel, you see I forget what that's called, the parachute drop thing. Yeah. But this is, I mean, you don't really come in a way, you really experience this coming in on the train, I think. So I'm a little worried that view, the kind of iconicity of it, is sacrificed.
Oh.
And that's just my personal kind of like response, I'm not saying this should end the project or anything, but I mean, I think for me, like the tower from this view doesn't bother me, but it's just when you look at it from the other side, it just, a lot of this I feel is lost, the iconic, view, even though it's, yeah, needs upkeep, et cetera, and repair that this project will bring, you know, I'm worried about losing that.
Losing the view from.
When you enter, when you come from Brooklyn, the city, or the train, yeah. Or even on foot, if you live in the neighborhood, so.
So speaking of which, can we go back to that image because it helps encapsulate all of the comments that we've heard today. The offensive sign. Yes. And while you're doing
I'm not
that,
saying it's categorically offensive. I was just saying, to me, the way it makes me feel.
I know that
as a citizen of the city.
It's 46.
and while you're doing that, can I ask you about the political support that you have for this? Because obviously we just saw what happened on the west side. And that can help derail a project like this, as we all just learned. Where are you with your CAC process? Just curious.
So
Elected official support.
yes, we received an approval from the borough president. We received approval from city planning. Sorry, we received approval from the borough president. We received approval from city planning. We're at the city council now. We believe we have the elected official support. And we believe we're in a really good place right now.
So you think you'll have the council member, state senator, and state assembly members support this?
We do.
And I think just to clarify for my colleagues, the CAC process, which is Community Advisory Committee, that doesn't actually officially start until the end of June, because the applications are due
June 27th. So
and
right
then
after.
July and August are the months in which the CACs are active, and they have a representative from borough president, assembly, senate, council member, mayor, governor.
That's correct.
But presumably, if the borough president has already signed off, they're not going to change in the CAC process.
We hope so. And we hope, and it's an ongoing conversation, right? This whole process at the CAC is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
So, if I might, I will attempt to share with you some of our parting thoughts so that when returning for interim review prior to preliminary submission, please address the following. Lori's comments were fun to summarize here on the paper, but I will start off with the 12th Street views, which I agree with, and needing to see that elaborated on it and further, including, of course, the pedestrian experience, because I do think some people are going to walk down 12th Street, where you have an entrance that people can access. The daytime renderings of the landscape, as Lori also said, when most people are going to come to the beach and walk up from the trains and the buses, we want to see that as well. Yes, with the buildings. The landscaping on Stillwell certainly need more sections. And obviously, the challenges of the tight confines that you're operating with there, and yet you're trying to do so much. And needless to say, the sky bridges. Lori would like to see them done away with altogether. But I do think that one of the last things that she said was that maybe it could be reduced or significantly reduced. Okay. I got the gist of it. I
Appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. However, I will say that our president, Deborah Martin, in her comments, though she couldn't be here today, does ask that the team push to make the sky bridges as small as possible, given the impact on the streetscape as well as the historic corridors. And in addition, continue to push on the public realm design along Stillwell Walk. So while and then I think a broader comment, which I also associate myself with, letting the existing landmarks dominate as opposed to the buildings, forcing them to recede. Manuel's comments on the sign. Signage could be at pedestrian level and be more effective. It is also covering something that is already iconic, and maybe stylized in a different way, and break up the continuity and the blockiness of all of that. We have some more comments from Deborah and Isabel that I'm going to share, some of which you've already seen, but just for the record, I'm going to talk about it. Minimize the volume of the sky bridges again to be as small as possible, reducing the depth, width, and height, increasing transparency, and improving blocked view corridors, maybe relocating the private program spaces from the sky bridges, limiting the sky bridge connection to a bare minimum, including only a vehicular bridge that includes a public pedestrian concourse connection, maximize views to the historic Coney Island amusement parks and boardwalk, and provide a diagram with a dimensional comparison of the proposed scale of the sky bridges. And then Isabel, while she couldn't be here today, is looking for greater specificity about what is happening on the ground plane at each streetscape and at each building elevation, and further refine the design and intent for Stillwell Walk, inclusive of the planting, seating, steps, and ADA access routes based on prior commissioner feedback. Also clarify the resiliency and stormwater management strategy at this site, including how this site may serve the local community during a climate emergency, update the percentages in the wind and solar analysis to refer to the public right-of-ways within the project site, especially of Stillwell Walk and West 12th Street, rather than the full circle shown across the entire neighborhood. And I think that is all of our comments. Yes, unless I'm leaving anything out, we're good. Lori is against the sky bridges, that is clear. Anything else? I think we are. Fair enough. Fair enough. You're the only one who made that very clear. But I think that summarizes where we are at to date, correct? All right. So with that, this gavel concludes our meeting, and the public meeting is now adjourned.
Yeah, we do have, yes, but that's off the public.